Hey, Broncos Country. This is the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast. We are going live tonight, a special Monday night show where we will be joined by the one, the only Mr. Fergalicious himself, Nick Ferguson. We're going to pick his brain, talk to him about what he's seen so far, ask him what he thinks of the coaching hires and what he expects for the 2023 season. Guys, thank you for joining us. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned. Here we go.
Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast.
Whoa!
What is up, NRW Crew, and how you doing, Broncos Country? And welcome to the February 27th edition of the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast on the Orange and Blue Network. We are a fan-led, built by the fans, for the fans podcast network, talking NFL, sports, and basically everything Broncos. Guys, we are so excited that you're here with us tonight. We are going to have a full dance card, as we're going to have a full studio. First of all, our very own Isaiah Henderson will be rejoining us for the first time in a while on Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue. Then we have our special guest host from the Everything Broncos podcast, my Bronco gang brethren, Mr. Ron Samples. I'm about to bring him in here in just a second. And then soon after, we will be joined by the one, the only Nick Ferguson. Woo! Dude, I am so excited about this, right?
Oh, yeah. Dude, I mean...
Oh yeah.
You got quite the guest list here, so hopefully everybody knows the secret knock.
You know, I had to do some real fast work because this was completely impromptu. So to give you a little background on this episode, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our special guest host. If you guys would please join me in welcoming our special guest host from the Everything Broncos podcast, my Bronco gang brother, Bronco gang for life, Mr. Ron Samples. What is up, homeboy? How you doing? Ron, can you hear me? We can't hear you, brother.
Oh, no.
No, we got some technical. We got some technical difficulties.
Well, he's here in spirit.
Yeah, we're going to get him on here in just a second. What we use this time, to knock out the dirty laundry, right? The stuff that we just got to get out of the way, right? Yeah. So how about, to give me the energy to do the chores, like do the laundry, which I don't ever want to do, I have to give myself a little kick. And what better way to give yourself a little kick than enjoying a big old glass, or in this case, a shaker bottle of Dubby Jitterless Energy Blend. Guys, you want to get you some Dubby. Dubby is the sponsor of tonight's show. Jump on over to dubby.gg where you can pick from six delicious flavors, all of which, get ready for this, guys, because this is the coolest thing ever. Dubby, specially formulated to give you focus and energy, but with no jitters or crash afterwards. The formula is chock full of amino acids, B vitamins, and nootropics, and then their own patented nootropic called Neurofactor. And that keeps you sharp, keeps you focused, helps your reflexes stay quick, like, oh my God, like a fox. But the best part about it, guys, no calories, no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fillers, and absolutely no artificial colors. About as natural as it gets. Guys, Dubby's the way to go if you're looking to get you a little bit of energy, or not just a little bit, a lot of bit of energy, but without the crash and the jitters later. Make sure that in the checkout, however, remember, dubby.gg, jump on over. You can also find the link in the bio below. In the checkout, make sure that you punch in code NRWOB10. That's NRWOB10 for 10% off your order. Guys, you can't go wrong. 2 cups of coffee worth of caffeine in every shaker bottle. What?
Teach me how to Dubby.
That's how you go teach yourself how to Dubby.
Okay.
Dubby.gg. That's where you go to do it. And we'll get the rest of the dirty laundry out of the way. Master of merch, what you got for us tonight?
Oh, just like the quickest thing in the world. We won't belabor the point tonight, guys. But we do have 15% off of everything. We just have to hit the redeem button right there. But that's a nice percentage. It really 15%, is. That's a good amount. That's a nice little knockoff. But you guys know the designs. You guys know the swag by now. Got different colors. Got different layouts. Different products. I mean, go shop, go get it, guys. Go rep the swag. Broncos Country, thick and thin. Here we go. So, yeah, man, good stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good. It's great stuff. Actually, it's high quality stuff. You guys, the drinkware goes through the dishwasher just fine. Your shirts don't shrink. They stay soft and they're very, very comfortable.
Yeah.
So
15% off.
Yeah, 15% off. What better time to jump on the link in the bio below? Get yourselves some NRWOB merch. Rep the NRW crew. Here we go. All right, guys. So we're still waiting on Ron to get to figure out what's going on with his microphone. So we're waiting on our special guest tonight, Nick Ferguson. So Jay, how was your week?
We're doing pretty good. Not too bad. We're just. We're almost on the precipice of free agency. We got the combine coming here, draft, in about a month or two. So we got a lot of things going on. Some surprising releases in the NFL. We got Carson Wentz now on the free agent list.
I know that. I mean, I'm not honestly shocked about it, but nobody had talked about it.
Yeah, he's been tossed around, but
dude, I mean, he's pretty.
I'd take him as a backup. I mean, yeah, sign me up. Yeah, absolutely.
That of course would require him to be willing to take backup money.
Yeah, this is very true. Although, we could do the what is the Glennon Trubisky doctrine, or the who was it? The Red Rocket, Andy Dalton. He got like $11 or $12 million a year from Chicago for 1 year or something like that.
Sure. Oh, and there is the third member of the NRWOB. Nothing rhymes with orange and blue. My boy, my best friend, the godfather to my kids, Isaiah, the Broncos gentleman, Henderson. What's up, Zay?
What's up, Jay? What's up, Johnny? Can you guys hear me all right?
We can.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. You're just in time for us to bring in our awesome special guest, who I just love having this guy on the show. You guys, you don't know what you have missed until you actually sit down and have a conversation with this man. He is a very accomplished football player, but on top of that, he's a very accomplished radio host, podcast host, media personality, and just one hell of a freaking guy. So if you guys would
follow him on Twitter as well, Oh,
absolutely.
analysis. answers questions. He responds back to you. So, like Johnny said, he's just an all-around great guy. So, we're lucky, we're honored.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want to make him blush. Like, he's not on here yet. Y'all can't
He's
see
about
him,
to be.
But I was gonna say, like, any breaking news or like this big stuff that we've had the last couple of years, I go over to Nick's Twitter and I want to hear what Nick has to say. And it doesn't matter what channel he's on or where he goes, because he's got a tour. He's got a lot of stops, and this happens to be one of them. And we're just so appreciative of it. I love the guy. I love his opinions. I love his takes. So I'm so glad to have him here, man. So glad. So excited.
What's up, Johnny?
Oh, there he is. There's Ron Samples. Mr. Ron Samples. How you doing there, sir?
And what's going on, Jay?
Ron.
Very nice, sir.
What's up, Isaiah? There you go,
Happy
Johnny.
to have you.
Good to be
Happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
I think Johnny's frozen in time here in the labyrinth, so we may have to, have him turn it on and turn it off.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Hey guys, I'm back. Ron, do we have Ron back real quick?
Yeah, we got Ron on.
All right, guys. So now
how you doing, Ron? Gang? What's up, Bronco gang, brother?
That's up, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be all here with y'all.
All of us on just in time now to bring on the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Broncos Fergalicious, Mr. Nick Ferguson.
Hold up. Check it out.
What's up, Nick?
Hey man, I'm trying to contain my laughter because I didn't expect the Fergalicious, because it took me back to my days with the Broncos and sitting next to Hamza Abdullah to my left and Dominic Foxworth to my right.
Woo!
And them making fun of my last name, calling me Fergalicious. But I appreciate it's really nostalgic for me.
Well, there you go. We love it. We absolutely love it.
Bring it back.
Yeah, he put it in the group chat earlier today, and some of the people in the group chat, they're like, wait, who's on the podcast? Who is that? And I called Johnny. I was like, Johnny, that was actually a really good name you came up with. So credit to that. Glad you like. Nick, welcome. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to have you. You heard the accolades that we threw out. We heard the gushing over you. But once again, it is an absolute honor to have you here. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. Welcome to the Nothing Rhymes with Blue. No, it's the Orange and Blue Network, the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue show. You're now part of the NRW Crew. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, guys. This is an all-important part of the year for Broncos Country. Now, we can all kind of, kick the, proverbial can down the road, because now we have a head coach, we have a DC, we have coaches in place. The only thing that we are missing is a running back coach, and I'm sure Sean Payton will kind of figure something out between now and the end of the week.
Yeah. I mean, it's been.
Have you not been updated? Nick, have you been updated?
Have my what now?
Have you not been updated?
We got him.
Oh, we got him.
Just today.
Yeah.
He's out
hired the running back coach from Northwestern.
Yeah, Lou ain't I or something like that. I know his name is Lou, but he been around though. He been around. He was at Kansas, Northwestern, Iowa. He produced a couple good running backs in the league. Kareem Hunt and David Montgomery.
Mm-hmm. What's funny about that, because I didn't get that news today because I was scheduling a medical procedure, but to even say that, it goes with a list of running backs that I put out there earlier today, as far as what of these running backs, which one of these running backs would you want? David Montgomery was on that list, Jamal Williams was on that list, Miles Sanders, and Kareem Hunt was on that list as well. So it's interesting that you bring in a guy who's quite familiar with both David Montgomery and Kareem Hunt, considering the fact that both of these guys are going to be free agents real soon.
Yeah, I seen that list.
It's crazy to think. I mean, again, it just goes to show you know, the whole "in Peyton we trust" that I've been trying to shout out on Twitter for the last few weeks when everybody's freaking out and doing this whole like, why don't we have all these coaches yet? And why haven't we signed anybody? No, I'm losing my mind. And I'm like, guys, this guy, he's one of the winningest quarterbacks of the past 4 decades. He knows what he's doing. Or not quarterbacks, coaches of the last 4 decades. He knows what he's doing. Let him do it. Like,
well, that part is really important. And here's what I would say to you guys and the rest of Broncos country. What happens is during this part of the year, the media is so used to kind of having the information kind of provided for them. And when they're not given that information, everyone gets a little antsy because they want to be able to write their stories and write their own narratives. But understanding that Sean Payton is his own man. He is his own coach. What we saw last season with Nathaniel Hackett, you are not going to see with Sean Payton. So all that media access that they were used to, they're not going to get that same media access, but the media is upset because they're saying, hey, we are the media. You don't know how this is supposed to work. Your information. And he's like, no, slow down. This is my team. I'm in charge. I will tell you when you can report the information that I have. And I'm so happy that we do have a head coach who looks at things in that way.
I mean, that definitely was made apparent by his response to Eric Goodman's tweet last week, for sure.
Yeah.
So, real quick, Ron, are you able to add a little bit of light, brother? We literally cannot see your face.
Okay.
It's like you're coming from a Saw movie or something, man.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's like I want to play a game. Like
this bedroom right here, I got the light on, and then I got the on. I could add I could probably bring this lamp up here a little bit closer to
all right, brother.
bring it up.
For sure. It'd be nice to see your face a little.
All right.
Nick, I got a question for you, man. I've been itching at the bit. I know you alluded to the running back discussion and like all these options that we got free agency wise. I think everybody is on the same page where, I mean, we got to sign a running back. We got to draft a running back. We got to have somebody because Pookie ain't going to be ready.
Right.
Who's your guy? Who's your guy out of the mix here?
Well, I mean, if I could make things, all things come true, like I was Walt Disney, the one guy I would bring in here would be Josh Jacobs. I think he would fit perfectly, but I don't think Josh McDaniels is going to allow him out of the building, knowing as though they're looking for a new quarterback. And whether it's Aaron Rodgers, it's not going to be Tom Brady, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or anyone else, you have to have a running game that you can present to that quarterback and say, well, listen, you're going to have the benefit of not having to throw the ball 40 times a game and being able to hand it off. So with that being said, and Josh Jacobs probably being off the market, my next guy would have to go is either Jamal Williams or Kareem Hunt. And the reason I like these two guys, if you played fantasy football last year, you love Jamal Williams because the one thing he did do, he scored for you. When you wanted to get inside that red zone, that was the guy that scored points for you. Kareem Hunt, for me, that dual running back thing, it's okay, but I just feel as though he wasn't ready to or given opportunity to break out in Cleveland because he was sharing carries with Nick Chubb. If you bring him here, he can be your bell cow back. He is a combination of toughness, physicality, and, oh, by the way, he catches the ball out of the backfield. And what we've seen from Joe Brady with Austin Eckler with the Chargers, they're trying to get Austin Eckler the ball. But more importantly, the guy who's going to be calling plays is Sean Payton. What have we seen with his offensive scheme? It's based on getting the running back touches. And all you got to do is look back in the past and look at how productive Alvin Kamara was in those screen passes. And that tells you that Kareem Hunt would be great in this offense. So I don't know what direction that the Broncos want to go in, but if I had my choice, man, it would be start with Josh Jacobs and work my way back from there.
And I don't know if you agreed to this, but like all the things you listed and getting one of those names, that is mutually exclusive of still re-signing Latavius Murray, in my opinion, because you're still going to need 2 running backs, really. I mean, the new guy that you sign will probably be your number one going, week 1 because Pookie won't even be dressed. So, like, hopefully, at least my opinion, I would love Latavius Murray just on the roster somewhere. His connection to Sean Payton, I love his running style. What do you think of him?
Well, I love Latavius Murray. I mean, I was waving the banner last year for him. And even though he's not an Adrian Peterson in his running style, but he's an Adrian Peterson type runner based on his durability. And that's the biggest thing. Usually running backs have a short shelf life. But looking at the production the Broncos were able to get out of Latavius Murray in a down year with the offensive line that wasn't really, where it needed to be, bringing him back now only adds more depth. And here's the thing. I know some individual teams like to have, what they call their bell cow running back. Today's NFL, you need more than one running back. Look at what Jalen Hurts had in Philadelphia. Look at what happened with the Kansas City Chiefs. You need 1, 2, maybe even 3 backs. And I even dig back into my coaching days, coaching alongside Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. They had at least 4 running backs. And when someone was injured, they went out and grabbed another guy. So this is an offense where you're going to need at least 4 running backs because it's going to be some time before Javonte Williams actually comes back. But I'll also add this. Don't forget the midseason trade when Bradley Chubb went to Miami. Chase Edmonds is still on the roster.
He is.
Valuable option in the passing game, sort of like what Jet McKinnon was for Patrick Mahomes. So don't sleep on him.
I love it. I love it. Real quick, guys, before we continue, I just want to show some love to our people in the chat. We got our boy Ty Y and Rob, the other two of the other hosts of the upcoming Orange and Blue Network show. We've just rebranded, Nick. The upcoming Orange and Blue Network show, Orange and Blue Hour. Ty says, what up, Rob? He's also saying he also wants you. He's praying that you will send him a signed jersey, Nick.
Throw in a Corvette, please.
And we got Rob saying, yeah, what's up, boys? So then we got our Dave Fullglass saying, howdy, y'all. We got Bob Skinner. We haven't seen Bob Skinner in the chat for a long time, so it's good to see you, Bob. Yep, it's been a while. And then we got a new name that I don't think I recognize. So we got to cheers the new member of the NRW crew, Mr. Gavin Dilly. Says, I love this podcast. We thank you very much, my friend. We are trying very hard to make it a good one. Whatever Isaiah just said.
Yeah, 5-star Yelp.
So, all right, Nick, I've been, Jay was itching to ask you that question. I've been itching to ask you one all day. I've been sitting there thinking, like, this is the one I got to ask Nick about. So, as a defensive player yourself, coming from a defensive back's perspective, how are you feeling about Vance Joseph returning to Denver as the defensive coordinator?
I like the idea and the concept of Vance coming back, and here's why. Vance has been in the NFL for a long time, and looking at what he was able to do with the Arizona Cardinals, and I know most people are saying, well, the numbers are not where they need to be. I tell you, just kind of look at the injuries that they sustained, especially at the middle linebacker position. When you start undergoing injuries, as we know, as members of Broncos Country, it makes things really difficult. But I like his aggressive approach to the game and just looking at the pieces that he has on the defensive side of the ball. You got K'Wan Williams at your nickel position. You got Ronald Darby, who's coming back off an injury, which the team may ask him to take a pay cut to remain with the team. You have Damari Mathis, who definitely grew up last year, especially in that Chargers game after sustaining so many holding penalties. And then you have, Mr. almost 2-4 Champ Bailey and entertain himself. So you have guys outside that can hold up and play the defense. And here's what the thing that was a concern for me, fellas. When Rex Ryan's name was entered into the DC coordinator job, I was wondering, was there going to be a place for Draymond Jones? And most likely it wasn't. So now with Vance coming in, now the option of keeping Draymond Jones, who I happened to see at Broncos facility last week, there's an opportunity that he may return with the Broncos to fill that role outside next to DJ Jones. So I like the overall look of what Vance brings. And I know Broncos Country might not like it because the last time we saw Vance, he was in a head coaching role and things didn't go that well for Vance. But here's what
it was a great practice, though, Nick.
Well, listen.
We're back.
Here's what I would tell you, right? Any head coach needs power. You need power to bring in your own coaching staff. You need power to draft your own guys that fit your scheme. You also need power to make personnel moves that's going to impact your team. I, for one, can tell you this with certainty, full certainty. When Vance was a head coach for the Denver Broncos, he had none of that. Now, you tell me, if either one of you guys were the head coach of the Denver Broncos, how successful would you have been if placed in that situation? Oh, by the way, you were giving Trevor Siemian and Patrick as your quarterbacks? Come on, man. And listen, we saw Nick Paxton listen to XFL, so let's not fool ourselves.
We have, I feel like he got benched in after 5 snaps.
So once again, Nick, this is why I like Vance coming back. Now he doesn't have all that pressure. He has a different ownership group, and he has a head coach and Sean Payton that's going to get him points, unlike what the situation was when Mike McCoy was the offensive coordinator.
I like it.
That's
I like
fantastic.
it
Bring up a fantastic point, Nick, and definitely some insight into, he couldn't draft his own guys. He couldn't bring his own guys. He was kind of like a placement coach, and that's something I never really thought about. My question to you is a couple questions. The first one is, you said with Rex Ryan, there's a possibility, the probability of Draymond Jones coming back would be less likely. I want to know why you think that. What is it about Rex Ryan's defensive scheme that would not make Draymond Jones that much of an asset? Why do you think with Rex Ryan, Draymond Jones possibly wasn't coming back?
Well, think about the defense that Rex typically runs. That guy who's going to be over the center, your nose guard, that zero technique, usually that guy's about 320 pounds. See, that's a Mike Purcell type of position. And Draymond isn't that big. So that would have somehow pushed Draymond out. Now you get a guy like Vance. Now it makes it more realistic, because I'm sure by now, maybe Vance has spoken to Draymond and told him, listen, man, this is how we plan on utilizing your skill set. If you're right there next to DJ Jones, and now you get back maybe a healthy Baron Brown and Jonathan Cooper, and you mix that with Nick Bonito, right, and Randy Gregory, now there's some opportunities. And I know when we look at Draymond Jones, no, he's not Warren Sapp. He's not Aaron Donald, because there's only one of those guys. And to be a guy to dominate in that way, you need production outside of you. And we saw late in the season, the Broncos really struggle getting pressure up front. So now with a more aggressive type of play calling scheme with Vance and maybe with Coach Evero, and that's not to say that Coach Evero didn't do a good job. He did one hell of a job. But now you have two different philosophies. One is kind of, we're going to use our front seven to try to attack, but we're going to play a little zone coverage. But with Vance, it's a combination of things. We want to play some match coverage. We want to play some zone coverage. And then you want to throw in some man coverage. And when you throw man coverage in, your dudes up front, they better get home, because if they don't, they're going to leave those guys in the back end on the island.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is it's their time to eat, is what you're saying.
Say again?
So what you're saying is it's their time to eat, so they better eat?
Well, yeah, I don't know about you guys. I like food. So
you know it.
hopefully this is how that front seven actually looks at it. We now have an opportunity to eat. And I throw this in as well. J.J. Watts, hell of a player, Hall of Fame player. But we know in the backside of his career wasn't as great and profound as the first 5 years of his career. But the last time they faced the Denver Broncos offense, I think he had like 3 sacks. So if you put a healthy Draymond Jones, who is younger, in that type of position, imagine the type of production he may actually be able to pull off. But I'll also add this. When we look at interior defensive linemen, we want them to be dominant as far as sacks are concerned. I don't need Draymond to be have like 8-9 sacks. I don't need that. I need him to be disruptive enough to play on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage to force everything outside. We want those guys on the outside to eat. So if he can command the double team, if he can get the quarterback on the move and chase down plays from behind, I will take it. But we live in this world of stats, and it's like, well, if you're interior lineman, I want 8, 9, 10 sacks. That's kind of unheard of.
Yeah, a little bit. Ron,
Well,
did
you
you have
made a-
anything
you made a-
for Oh, go ahead, Isaiah.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron. No, go ahead,
Yeah,
Ron.
Ron, did you have anything for Nick?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Nick. Is it, what was the real reason why Sean Payton chose Vance over Rex? Was it that I heard that Vance Joseph and Sean Payton had mutual friends and stuff like that, things of that nature?
Well, a lot of that plays a role into it. It's just like personnel, right? You want to get guys that fit. And when you sit down with someone, yeah, we know you can compare the accolades from Rex to that of Vance, but at the end of the day, it's which guy do you feel more comfortable with? Because that part is real important. And you got to think about this. You got Sean, you have Rex, you got 2 alpha dogs, right? And sometimes, those mindsets don't really gel, and that could have been the problem. That's not to say that, Vance is not an alpha dog in his approach, but it's just, once again, what was his relationship when he was here with some of the remaining players who are currently still in that locker room? That goes a long way, because you may have a guy that comes in, he's got all the X's and O's. He's got the whole schematic thing down. But if you don't have a working relationship with the guys in the locker room, it's going to make it really difficult. So with Sean wanted someone, that he feels as though I don't have to really watch Vance every single day. I can focus my attention on the offensive side of the ball and helping Russell out. I want to know the defense is in good hands, and with the personnel that they have, I mean, you cannot mess this up. You really can't mess this up, right? So Vance now has an opportunity to say, once again, like I said earlier, he doesn't have to be the head coach anymore. Right now, you don't have to worry about standing up at the podium and maybe being set up with questions. No, your job right now is to keep this defense clicking on all cylinders. His job right now is to go to Indy, which they're in Indy right now, to figure out which of the upcoming linebackers, edge rushers, interior guys that they can go and get in the 3rd round with those 2 third-round picks to make this team better. That is his job.
I love it.
Right. Well, I'm going to go to the comment section to get some questions for you, because we definitely have some for you.
Yeah, we do.
Rob says, he says, hey, Nick, what's a crazy story of your time with the Broncos?
a crazy story that I have. Well, you know what? Here's something that's real. It's funny. And I tell this sometimes because it just shows you how bizarre things are, but still at the same time, how wise this particular player that I'm going to talk about is. In our DB room is a fun time. We love to make jokes. We love to make fun of ourselves, especially when you either get run over or some guy scores a touchdown on you. So one day we are in our meeting room, and Champ Bailey typically sleeps. Well, I say sleeps, but he sits at the front of the room. But the majority of the time, Champ goes to sleep, right? So I'm like, well,
wow.
How could this elite player go to sleep in these meetings? So he proved all of us wrong, because we thought, man, our DB coach had him dead to rights, because if you fall asleep in the meeting, usually there's a fine of some sort, but you usually don't know when Champ's asleep because his head doesn't sway to the side and he doesn't snore. So the DB coach was asking questions, and he asked Champ a question, and we're like, yes, he got him. This dude woke up, answered the question, and went back to sleep.
Wow. Wow.
That's just pure. That's pure money, man.
So I said, wait a minute. This game is rigged because he's already better than us from an athletic standpoint. Now he gets to fall asleep, answer the question, and then go back to sleep. This is not fair. This is not fair.
Right. No, that's crazy.
Hey, Nick, did you play with his brother in Detroit?
No, I did not.
I didn't know if your paths crossed there. Good old boss.
No, I
speaking of DBs, now that you brought it up.
I got you.
Yeah.
Speaking of the DB room, now that you brought it up, my question is, correct me if I'm wrong. I was looking into Vance Joseph's defensive style, and it seems that the difference between him and Evero is he uses the defensive tackle. He has a defensive tackle to the defensive line on pass rushing, which leaves the secondary with one less person in coverage. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, one thing about it, sometimes it's almost, think about it in this context. Like, you usually have to send one more than they can actually block, which means that someone's going to have to hold up in the back end. And that's why I felt, though, this was a great mix with Vance, being as though you look at the secondary and you look at some of the guys that George Payton was able to acquire. So if you advance, you're happy about what you have, but still you want to improve on that because it's all about competition. Competition should bring out the best in every player. And once again, the way you disrupt the passing game is by having guys disrupt the quarterback. Now, we saw that, 2-3 years ago when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers faced Patrick Mahomes, getting him to move outside the pocket, getting him off that launch point. That's so important. So you want to be able to manipulate pressure, and you bring it in a multitude of ways.
I love it. If I may, Nick. Let's ask Ty's question next. Out of the chat, he says, "Who was your favorite player to play with when you were playing?" And a follow up to it: who was your favorite quarterback you ever landed a sack on?
Wow. So it's funny. It's kind of ironic because Doug Flutie was still playing in the league when I was playing here with the Broncos.
Careful, Nick. You're showing your age.
Hey, it is what it is. But Doug was playing with the Chargers, and Doug was one of my mom's favorite players. Now, you would think that I would be my mom's favorite player. No. Doug Williams, not Doug Williams, what I'm talking about. Doug Flutie was my mom's favorite player. So just so happens I got a chance to blitz. And at that time, Larry Coyer rarely would blitz me. So I blitz, and I watched film enough to understand Doug's escape route. Like, because he likes to show his back to you and let you get close to him and then do this little pivot out. He would lose ground to gain ground to get outside you. So what I did was, instead of rushing inside, I rushed top shoulder. So when he turned around, he turned right to me. So when I sacked him and I was getting up and I was helping him up, I said, "Hey, man, you know you're my mom's favorite player. You mind signing the jersey for her?"
Oh, that's awesome.
So he
That's
actually
a beautiful story.
Yeah, so he actually signed a jersey, and my mom actually has it. But a lot of those quarterbacks were really difficult to sack. So to sack Doug was a proud moment for me. Now, the other question was, who was my favorite teammate to play with? And there's two guys. There was Champ Bailey, but more importantly, it was John Lynch. I loved the way John played early on in my career. I told my agent when I was with the Jets, I said, whatever you do, you got to get me on Tampa Bay's roster. And obviously it didn't work out. It ended up coming here to Denver. But lo and behold, 2 years later, John would join me. And here's what I tell people, and people find this very hard to believe. In my career as an NFL player, I was fined for other things, and I wasn't fined for excessive roughness, right? And the reason why was because I played with 47. While everyone while everyone was watching him, I was able to do whatever I needed to do.
That's glorious. I love it. All right. So my next one, another one that I've sat prepared on all day. Well, first of all, before that, we didn't even ask how you. Last time we talked to you, your office looks like it's changed a little bit, or you've changed angles since last time we talked to you. But how have you been, and how's the family doing?
Well, everyone's good. Family's good. Everything. Anytime you are 6 feet above ground, gentlemen, every day is a great day. So I am very blessed for that. Obviously, I've been working on a couple of media things. Still waiting to see what happens with those things. So hopefully that will come to fruition sometime soon. And obviously, if you don't know, I'm talking about Broncos Country tonight on KOA.
Okay.
Yeah, so fingers crossed that comes through. any day now.
If we need to start a hashtag movement, you let us know.
Absolutely, we're on it. And I mean, and honestly, Nick, first of all, they'd be fools not to. Okay. Second of all, if that job falls through, there's always a place for you right here at Orange and Blue Network. Okay. And third, when you get on, because we all know it's going to happen. Anybody with a brainstem knows it's going to happen. I can't wait to be back on Broncos Country tonight. I haven't been on as a guest since December 2021, so I know you're going to make that happen. So, I'm just messing.
You keep Mr. Albright in check. I'm sure you will handle that.
Nobody can keep Ben in check, Jay. Come on. I've had drinks with the guy. Nobody can keep that man in check.
I think Nick can.
Oh, Nick might be able to. Nick might be the only one, though. All right. So then the next question I have for you, and this has to do with Mike Westhoff.
Yeah.
Because I know that you played for Mike Westhoff during your time on the Jets. Yeah. So what was he like as a coach now that he's the assistant head coach of the Denver Broncos? And obviously, I think is in a big way being brought here to kind of help Ben Kotwika, or how do you actually say his name?
Kotwika, something like that.
Kotwika. Yeah. Anyway, we know that he's coming in to help Ben. We'll just call him Ben. Install the special teams, his special teams, scheme and everything. How do you feel, and what can we as Broncos fans, from a guy who played for him, what can we expect from probably one of the most profound special teams coaches in history?
Well, you're going to get a guy who is as cutthroat as they come, and I'm going to be real with you and give you full disclosure. I love the guy, but we bumped heads a lot, right? So much so, like every other day he threatened to cut me, right? That's how much we bumped heads. But the reality of the situation is, it made me a better player because he held me accountable in every single play. Like for the first 3 seasons that I was with the Jets, I played predominantly, on special teams. So I was like the special teams ace or captain. And we had several of those guys. So you're going to get a guy that knows his stuff and he demands perfection. Sometimes he demands perfection when he knows he's not going to get it, but that is just the level of responsibility and accountability that he puts on his players. And I said it before, when Mike Westhoff was hired here, or even when it was mentioned that he was coming here, I said, these guys have no idea. I can tell you, I got firsthand experience. We were playing the Carolina Panthers. He drew up this block on the sideline. I mean, just drew it up on the sideline. And I was supposed to block this punt, but I came too tight, right? And I tripped a little over the center's foot, and I missed the block. I came to the sideline, and this dude was irate, right? He was irate.
Oh, no.
I'm like, why are you so mad, man? We still got like 40 minutes in this game. But that's the type of player or type of coach he is, and that is the type of pressure he puts on his players. Like I said, it made me a better player, so much so that when I encountered other coaches that would yell and scream, I would just sit there and look at him because I'm like, dude, this is nothing in comparison to what I dealt with in New York, right?
Wow.
And I'll tell you this, and I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying this. When I went to the Broncos facility last week, I talked to him about this. I said, how that pressure you put on me made me a better player. That's how I was able to withstand a lot of the negativity and a lot of the things that led to me playing 10 years in this league. And I'll tell you this, if you don't hunt for him like you are a wolf, you will not be on the roster. That is his motto. He wants every guy to hunt like you are in a pack. And if you don't find, or you see a guy that's not hunting, and as Marshawn Lynch would say, it's not about that life, guess what? They're going to give you your pink slip and say, thank you for coming out. We're going to get someone else. That is what this special teams unit has needed for so many years. And every single guy on every single special teams unit, they're going to be held accountable. And if they don't show up and show out, they will not be here.
That's beautiful to hear, Nick, because it's just like you said. I mean, Well,
Hold on, Johnny.
give me 1 second, Isaiah. Give me 1 second. 1 second. I was just going to say, Isaiah and I both come from a military background. Yeah. Both of us were soldiers. So that's actually where we met. And I can definitely agree with you in terms of, having that leadership that you can always tell the difference between from the soldiers that were the diamonds that were created by the pressure versus the soldiers who had the soft leadership. And when we got into the moments when we needed to be ready to go, like truly for the moment, we need to be in that moment. You could always tell which ones had been under that kind of pressure and had been truly like just put on the pressure cooker and just cooked hard until they were ready to freaking go. And so I can really appreciate that. And to hear that Mike Westhoff is that guy, which the Broncos have needed it for so long, that is a huge boon to this special teams unit, in my opinion. So thank you for that. Isaiah, go ahead.
What I was going to say was, it's interesting, and this is going to all lead up to a question. Number one, it sounds like Mike Westhoff is going to love Alex Singleton. Just my opinion. Number two, it's interesting because in George Paton's press conference, one of the things that he emphasized the most was he said special teams. And it's interesting how down the pipeline from George Paton saying special teams to hiring Sean Payton to getting what has been called a special teams legend, which leads to my next question. On Broncos Twitter and Broncos Country, there's been a lot of indifference regarding the coaching staff. Players like yourself, Cam Jordan, Brandon Cooks, Drew Brees. This is an all-star staff. What is the disconnect between players such as yourself and fans on Twitter who are like, hey, this doesn't seem as exciting to me, but then you come and you're like, hey, this guy's elite. This guy's a legend. You have no idea what's going to happen and what's about to be brought to the table. What's the disconnect?
Well, unfortunately, to be transparent is you don't know what you don't know, right? From a fan's viewpoint, you get the 30,000-foot view, but being inside that locker room, that's a whole different level. And because one, I've been a player and I've been around some of these coaches, I know what they are capable of doing. Now, unlike the fans and unlike some of the people in the media that cover the team, I'm often in that locker room. I'm often talking to those players, just trying to get a pulse of what's going on with them. Not so much the X and O's, but what's going on with them. And I'll tell you, I mean, hey, man, you guys who've been in the military, you definitely understand this. You guys like to be pushed, right? They want someone to push them past their threshold so they know exactly what they're capable of. And the reason being is because once you get on the field, even though you're getting instructions from the coaches, once you get to the sideline, you're out there by yourself. And sometimes things are not always going to go well for you, just like they don't go well for you in war. But sometimes you got to figure it out, right? And you're going to hear, Mike Westhoff say those things. That's one of his biggest sayings. Figure it out. I can't figure it out everything for you. I'm your coach. You a player. You have to go out there and you have to go out there and play. So all the negative, narratives or takes or hot takes about this team and the coaching staff is like, sit back and relax. This fan base, let's be totally honest, they've been giving a poison pill of negative rhetoric. And they've taken it and run with it so much so they can't even see positivity if it was sitting there right in their face because it's negative, right? So when you look at the coaching staff that Sean Payton has assembled, yes, is it a lot of people who came from New Orleans? You absolutely right. And there's a reason why. Because in New Orleans, they were constantly in the playoffs. Constantly. Yeah, right? Constantly. If you take away the Minnesota Miracle, they're in the playoffs again. If you take away Nicole Robin, Nicole Roby Coleman, whatever his name is, for the Rams, when he hit one of their players, they're back in the Super Bowl again. If you take away Kyle Rudolph, using his arm to create space, OPI that was never called, they're back in the picture again. So the New Orleans Saints have constantly been a mainstay in the playoffs. That's something that no one in Broncos country can even talk about. It's been 7 years
7 years.
Yes.
7 long years.
You haven't been in the playoff in 7 years, but you want to complain about the coaching staff that this guy's putting together when he's been in the playoffs more so than the Broncos over the past 7 years has been there. It's just like, man, shut the hell up.
Yo.
Amen. I love that. Thank you, Nick, for saying.
Exactly.
Hey, after this, everybody go on Twitter, quote tweet Nick, saying everybody who wants to be negative about this coaching staff for Nick Ferguson, shut the hell up.
Hey, let's go.
How about that?
Right.
A lot of people mention is
Do it.
they changed the overtime rules because of the Saints-Vikings game.
Yep.
Yeah.
That duel between Brett Favre and Drew Brees, the overtime rules changed after that field goal ended the game. They changed the overtime rules because of that game. Like you said, the Saints were consistently in the playoffs all the time. And I think one of the most underrated hires that have gone under the radar is Russell Wilson's quarterback coach. And I was talking to Johnny about this earlier today. David Webb, I think his name is.
Davis Webb.
David Webb.
He coached in Buffalo. He was the backup for Josh Allen. When
No,
Josh
he
Allen
did not. Yeah, he did. He didn't coach. He just retired as a player.
Yeah, he was the backup quarterback when Josh Allen had his career year. The Buffalo Bills offered him to stop being a player, be a coach, because they saw something. He said no, and then Brian Daboll left and took him with him. Daniel Jones took them to the playoffs, and now the Broncos bring him in. I think that's gone under the radar. I'm curious as to what they know or what you think about Davis Webb that Sean Payton was like, I want him.
Well, I'm going to put out a video later tonight explaining this in great detail. Well, here's what I would tell you. I mean, when you look at Davis Webb, the biggest question is why? Why was Sean Payton bringing a guy who's only had very limited starts? Why would he bring in a guy who's younger than Russell Wilson to help Russell Wilson out? Now, remember this now. Do you guys remember who Russell Wilson quarterback coach was? His quarterback coach was a guy who was a backup quarterback in Seattle. Why is that? Right? Those backup quarterbacks, they sit there, right? They sit there, they learn. They have no choice because they never know when they're going to get an opportunity, so they have to be ready. So those
and I do apologize, Nick, but real quick, I've said it. Like right after they made this announcement, I said everybody's freaking out about it. I'm like, hey, Broncos country, we've all been talking for years about this one guy named Brett Rippon, who's going to be one hell of a coach when he takes that chance, much better than he is as a player. Why y'all freaking out? So same thing. Sorry,
because they don't. Once again, they don't know what they don't know, and they are being told to believe a certain narrative that's not really been vetted the way that it should. Because think about Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore at one point was Dak Prescott's backup quarterback.
Yep.
And he became an offensive coordinator and even had interviews for a head coach. Jason Garrett, another guy backing up Troy Aikman, backup quarterback turned OC turned head coach.
How about Gary Kubiak?
Sean Payton.
So there's a common thread that's there, right? There's a common thread that's there. And I've often said this, and I've been ridiculed for saying this, but the most important player on your team from a quarterback standpoint isn't always your starting quarterback. It's your backup quarterback. And sometimes fans and organizations don't realize that until that backup quarterback is thrust into action. Think about this. We all watch Patrick Mahomes get injured against the Cincinnati Bengals. We watched it. And who came in? Chad Henne, right?
Yep, Chad Henne.
How many starts have Chad Henne had in his career? Only when Patrick Mahomes get injured, right? But guess what? He comes in, he keeps the offense in the rhythm, moves them down the field, and they score. And then when Patrick's ready to come back in, he comes in like nothing ever happened.
Well, let two Broncos instances you can reference there. Bubby Brister with John Elway.
Yep.
In the 1997, season, the first Super Bowl. And then, of course, you can even though, he absolutely burned Broncos country right after this, Brock Osweiler to Peyton Manning in our Super Bowl, season. Without Brock Osweiler, we never would have made that Super Bowl with Peyton Manning out as long as he was. Now, Brock Osweiler obviously burned Broncos country on his way out the door, and he let that door hit him in the butt on the way out. But the point is, without those guys, yeah, you're absolutely right. They're just as important, if not more important, than your starter.
Do you know why Brock burned the Broncos?
I'd love to know.
We weren't going to pay him. I have no idea.
Okay, this is why he burned the Broncos. See, when you think about what Peyton Manning was the year of Super Bowl 50, right? We know about the injury with the foot and the numbness and the tingling in his hand and not really having the velocity that he had of years of old. Then he's pulled in the game at the Kansas City game after throwing maybe 4 interceptions.
4 picks.
Gary Kubiak said, you know what, man, just sit down, get your foot ready. We'll put Brock in. And you're absolutely right. A lot of Broncos fans, they are really salty and they hate on Brock Osweiler. But Super Bowl 50 never takes place unless Brock Osweiler is in the football game.
Amen.
Right? Something that most fans kind of forget. And Brock was pretty salty because he thought, you know what? This is the sheriff's last ride. The team is going to throw it all on my back. And then they pulled Brock in the Chargers game to put Peyton back in.
Yeah.
Right? Could you imagine getting the team to that point and then all of a sudden you're struggling a little? Peyton comes in, right? All he needs to do is get the team a touchdown and field goal range. Game over. The Broncos now move in advance and they move on to play the Patriots. Could you imagine being in Brock's shoes, right?
It would hurt. It hurts. It's painful.
Right. It hurts. So you could say that Brock was in his feelings. He was upset. And he said, you know what, Broncos, you screwed me, so I'm going to screw you right back. And also keep this in mind. When Brock was the backup quarterback behind Peyton Manning, Brock didn't get as many reps as he thought he would like, right?
Sure.
So once again, that was another way for Brock to stick it to the Broncos, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I can see it. Okay, guys, we're gonna get ready to get out of here in the next 10 minutes. So I think Jay and Ron, you both have you both been very patient. I do apologize. You guys got any other questions from you guys to Nick before we roll out of here?
I got one thing. On a scale of 10 to 10, how excited are you for the new Mandalorian?
Hey, man, I am excited. I'm jacked. Here's the crazy part. See, you would think because I grew up a Star Wars fan that I would be like out of control. No. See, it's not me. See, it's my wife.
Shut up, Isaiah.
It's my wife of 16 years who never liked Star Wars in the first place, but now she's a Star Wars fan, and he cannot
That's crazy
for the new episode to come out. Listen, I know it is freaking crazy. When I first met my wife and I brought up Star Wars and she had no idea what it was, I was like, ooh, I don't know if this is gonna work out.
Oh yeah, no, right,
Yeah.
Right.
That's how it was for me with the Broncos. My wife was a Steelers fan at the time, and I'm like,
wow.
my grandfather, mine and Jay's grandfather, actually pulled me aside. He's like, I like her, Johnny, but you can't marry a Steelers fan.
Ain't gonna work.
You know, so.
Right.
But I mean, I'm right there with you. Mandalorian, 10 out of 10. So excited for season 3.
Yeah,
I got one more question, Johnny, for Nick.
Send it, Ron.
How was it playing with the silent assassin?
Oh well, you talking about Steve Atwater?
Yeah, the silent assassin.
Okay, so here's the thing. I didn't play with Steve, but I'll say this. You know, when you talk about living your best life, I don't know what type of life I lived in my previous life. I believe in reincarnation.
Right.
But I can tell you this life has been really good for me because I watched Steve Atwater growing up as a kid. And to be around him all the time, you know, I get a chance to fanboy with a guy that I looked up to. Now, Steve is, the most humble person, Hall of Famer that you ever met. And every time I see him, I always go, do you know who you are? Right? and he's like, yeah, I'm Steve Atwater. I say, no. See, you are Pro Football Hall of Fame, Steve Atwater, right?
The Steve Atwater.
Put some respect on that name.
Yeah, put some
Respect, Jay. Say it right.
So for me, it is a blessing that I get a chance to be around this great fan base, that I get a chance to be around Steve. And I can honestly say that Steve is a friend of mine. If I could go back in time and I can go and talk to my 9-year-old self who's watching this Kansas City game where the Broncos, the Denver Broncos, and say, man, that one day you're going to meet that guy, right?
Okay.
So for me, it's be around Steve.
The hit, baby. It never gets old, no matter how many times you watch that play.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So beautiful.
My last question.
And real quick, Isaiah, hold on, shut up. I'm kidding. I love it. Anyway, no. And in terms of Steve, if you wouldn't mind just throwing in a good word with Steve about the Orange and Blue Network. I have been trying to get Steve on this show for like 3 years. So, if you don't mind, just, wrapping it up with a little bow and maybe tossing it to him, that'd be great. Yeah. Since we started, because he's probably one of the top 3 men in my entire life. Like when they ask you that question, that stupid question, if you could sit down and have dinner with anyone for 1 hour, who would you sit down with? Name 4 people. Steve Atwater is one of those names for me. So
next time I see him, I will tell him. And if just so happens that you get a chance to talk with him, or you get a chance to have that dream moment where you sit down, make sure you make it conversational, because he is definitely a conversational guy. He is big into football, but he loves his family even more.
I can do that. And definitely, we appreciate that advice, Nick. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, 82 comes in.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I did. I had a question, but I'm going to go to the comment section first and get their question. KB82 is another veteran. He says, Nick, if you had to choose, who would you pick, Steve Atwater or Dennis Smith?
Steve Atwater. Next question.
Yeah, just
although one could argue that Steve Atwater wouldn't be who he was without Dennis Smith.
Well, very true. Both guys complimented one another. Steve, I was on this participated in this golf tournament with those 2 guys, and that's exactly what Steve said. Steve said that it wouldn't be a Steve Atwater without Dennis. And sometimes you need that. You need a complimentary piece that you can feed off. And also, Dennis was kind of, a guy who Steve looked up to, that was kind of a leader for him. So it happens in different ways. I mean, Steve had his guy. I'm sure John Lynch had a guy that he looked up to. But that's the great thing that I love about playing the sport, because each guy you play with, there's something that you can take away from them that you can add in your game.
Sure. I mean, it's just like that duo of Nick Ferguson and Champ Bailey. I mean, you just can't beat it, So.
Right.
All right, Nick, top of the head, not a wish list, realistic, top of the head, 3 free agents to Broncos. It could be 3 offensive linemen. It could be any position, just 3 that you believe realistically that the scheme, that the people, 3 free agents you think the Broncos will bring in. Because as George Payton said, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to restructure some contracts, trade some people. We're going to have some money to play with. And I told Johnny this all the time. You get George Payton's acumen and scouting ability with the Walter Pettigrew cash over cap. And I think you got something. Yes. So top of the head, 3 to 5 free agents you think the Broncos are going to bring in that are going to make a big difference?
Well, the first guy I would think would be Mike McGlinchey. I've been around Mike. I was there in San Francisco when Mike first came in from the 49ers. So the Broncos have not been able to solidify that right tackle spot. I think he would be a great guy to do that if the Broncos decide to go after him. Obviously, like you said, they're going to have to move some money around, free up some cap space to be a major player in free agency. But Mike McGlinchey is that first guy. Now, let's just say we're talking about maybe a running back, and we've kind of hinted on that earlier in the program. So to me, you can't go wrong, with the Jamal Williams or a guy like Kareem Hunt. Obviously, ideally, you want to go out, try to get a guy like Josh Jacobs, but the possibility of that taking place, probably not. I mean, you're talking about some major reconstruction. That means you're asking Russ to reconstruct his contract to make sure that there's money somewhat available. Now, the wide receiver position is a very interesting one, and it all depends on what the Broncos do with their wide receivers. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the possibility of trading a Cortland Sutton. Now, if you do that, you're definitely going to have to go out and make some moves from that standpoint. But it's all of this stuff is a fluid situation because you really don't know with a lot of free agents because some guys may opt to stay placed and take less money. But it is an opportunity for the Broncos to go out and try to get better on both sides of the ball this season.
Appreciate it very much, Nick. So
Johnny,
much. And guys,
go.
what for real, dude? I gotta go, man. Dude, listen, my crotch. I gotta get my crotch goblins to bed, so it's time to call this thing. Okay. I love I love it, and I appreciate Nick giving us an hour and 5 minutes of his time too. Especially on his only night off. All right, because I mean, well, first of all, I am Lord Elrond, and therefore you cannot kick me out of my own council.
I'll figure out how to.
Second of all. Hey, without me, this network doesn't exist. So,
children, be on your best behavior. We talked about this.
All right. You are not my real father, Jay. You're my 1 year younger cousin. Shut it. I'm just kidding.
You're not my supervisor.
I love all you guys. All right. And I'm the CEO. Anyway, I'm just joking. I'm just messing. I'm totally messing. But for real, though, we do absolutely. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Nick, I know you could have some say with why they should tell Peyton and Penner, get some ideas for players, please. You're a mastermind with football.
Well, you know what? Here's what's really interesting, guys. There are a lot of, even on that last staff with Nathaniel Hackett, there were some guys who I knew on that staff. What's ironic about this staff, I know a lot of guys. I mean, George Payton and I go back to my days in Chicago when I was trying to break into this league. Vance, I know Vance. Mike Westhoff, I know Westhoff, and I know a couple of other coaches. And I try to not really cross that line sometime and give them, hey man, you know what you should do? You should go out and get this guy. Now, if I'm around them at the facility and it just so happened to come up in conversation, I might give my suggestion, but obviously they're going to do what they're going to do. And listen, I trust George. Majority of George's draft picks have all panned out well.
Yes, they have.
And a lot of those guys received a lot of playing time. So I trust him from that standpoint. Some of the free agents, you can say, here or there, hit and miss. But I got a lot of confidence in this coaching staff. And now with Sean Payton on board and Vance on board, I expect this team to be competitive. Now, notice I didn't say playoffs. I didn't say Super Bowl. I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse because I know there's going to take some time to get this team to where they need to be. But this team should be better or more suited to be competitive in 2023 opposed to what we saw them in 2022.
Agreed.
And we couldn't appreciate that more, Nick. We really, like I said, we really appreciate you on your only night off, giving us an hour and 7 minutes now of your time. Please thank the wife for us as well. Yes. Please tell her we say thank you. Because I know that my wife's probably down there getting ready to start flicking light switches.
Yep.
To come down and help with these children. Isaiah doesn't have that problem because he's childless. But he's got the dog. He's got that dog right there. But that's it for him. So we really thank you, though, Nick, for coming on tonight. Just letting us pick your brain. It's nice to actually be able to talk to somebody who's got an ear to the door, so to speak, who's right there and is able to glean some actual real information, or at least give us an idea of some real information while we're, trying to glean what's real and fake from Twitter and things like that. Because Lord knows we wish we could be in the building, but we sure as heck can't get there. So we really appreciate you being on, brother. And it's an honor having you again. And hopefully we can do it again sometime soon.
Nick, man of the people.
Yes, so I'm sure we would definitely do it again. Hey, you know what? For your listeners and your viewers, feel free to go on YouTube, check out Nick Ferg Show. It's something that I've started. Got some interviews on there from a couple of guys from the CU Buffs. Got a couple more interviews coming up with Daniel Graham, one with Byron Chamberlain, and by the way, I have an interview coming up with Beth Boland.
Oh my goodness!
Very
well,
cool.
and I know, and I totally meant to ask you. And I'm sorry we're out of time. I meant to ask you how your interview with Deion Sanders went, because
yeah, it was actually not. It was Deion Sanders Jr. And
okay,
it was Deion Sanders Jr. Great interview. This guy is getting out from behind his dad's shadow, and when you look at what all the hype has been from Jackson State to now CU. Yeah, Primetime, Coach Prime has a lot to do with it, but the video content that's being produced by his son is taking CU football to a whole different level. so much so that there are other Power 5 conferences and teams trying to copycat the same thing. So go if you haven't seen it, go check it out. You get a lot of insight on who he is. There it is, right there.
Yeah,
right
there it is, Nick Ferg.
It's
legit. Check
legit.
that out. Yes.
Oh, known very well on this show is Ferg.
Hold up. Check it out.
So listen, really quickly before I go, I do have also a upcoming interview with someone from Last Chance U, right?
Oh,
Cool.
So that I'll just leave it like that. There's a coach from Last Chance U that I'm going to be talking to upcoming. So make sure tune in for that. And anytime you guys need me, man, holla at me.
Oh, dude, always.
NRW
And if
Crew,
you wouldn't mind just hanging with us,
go subscribe now. Go subscribe
Oh, yeah,
now.
please.
You should have at least 15 subscriptions before the end of the night. Go subscribe now to Nick Ferg Show. We always support. He came here to support us. We are damn sure going to make sure we go and support him with overwhelming force. Go do that now because it was an honor and it was a pleasure. And we will always have your back here. You showed us love. We will show you love.
Absolutely.
And if you haven't already, go subscribe to Nick. But also, if you haven't already, throw us a like, a subscribe, a share. Come on, guys, help us out. We could use it. We're doing our very best to grow this. Our goal is for this podcast to feel like tailgating with your best friends every week. That is our goal. That is what we want for this show. So the more people we get, every Broncos fan knows at least one other Broncos fan. So send it out there, share it out there, give us that subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. And guys, we got to end this show the way we always do, don't we? Right?
Oh yeah.
So, Isaiah, you haven't done one of these in a while. So Nick, you're this might be new for you, but this is something we came up with, and I have said I will not rest until one day, just once, this is done in the stadium by the whole crowd. Okay, so if you all will please get your arms out with me, good and flat, and give me a big my high five. Yes. We thank you, Broncos Country. We thank you, NRW Crew, and we especially thank Ron Samples of the Everything Broncos Podcast and Mr. Nick Ferguson himself for joining us on tonight's episode. We cannot wait to talk more Broncos throughout this offseason, guys. Combine is this week. There's going to be a lot to talk about, so let's get ready to get out of here. And Broncos Country, I'm saying it. I'm going to say it. I don't care. Who doesn't like it? Let's ride!